Bolt. 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 Bolt.
Alright guys, Murph's here. And today I want to talk about this. A Remington 870 Wingmaster chambered in 16 gauge. Now, longtime viewers of the channel will know that I've actually already previously reviewed this particular shotgun. So if you're interested in a more in-depth kind of history as well as features review, you should go ahead and check the description. There'll be the link to the original video there. This is more of an update type video. Because, I mean, I enjoy talking about these shotguns and a little walk down memory lane while we're at it. Now, first off, guys, I have been a longtime lover of the Remington 870. More so than perhaps the Mossberg Model 500. In fact, in the discussion between Mossbergs and Remingtons, I was always a Remington guy, which is odd because I own a lot of Mossbergs. But I also own a lot of Winchesters, so I guess at a certain point, I just like guns and I just like shotguns. So these are kind of indicative of different interests that I've had over time. Now, my love affair began to drop away with Remington when they got picked up by Freedom Arms Group, and started having a lot of issues with their quality control and all that kind of stuff, to the point now where I will walk right past any newer production Remington anything shotgun, which is fine. I pretty much already have the Remingtons that I intend to have at this point, except for maybe an SBS, but that's a debate that an internal debate I keep going back and forth on to begin with. Now, some updates from the original video I want to go ahead and cover is that in that video I stated that this is a 1973 produced shotgun. And actually, doing some further research, this shotgun is older than that. And the way that you can tell is by the letter stampings on the barrel. See, I stopped off at my research at the second designator, which was so the first designator being Delta, and then the second being X, or X-ray. However, this has two additional letters after the first letter, XX, which, if you look that up, that indicates production. Double letters in general indicate production between 1941 and 1953, and XX is actually the timestamp for 1951. So this is a 1951 produced Remington 870 Wingmaster. Now, something else that I mentioned in the original video was that this was built on a 12 gauge frame. And this is actually kind of something that is misunderstood by a lot of older shotgun collectors. There's a tendency to believe that older shotguns are built on designated frames for that particular gauge, and to an extent they are correct. However, the Remington 870s were all originally built on 12 gauge frames when they came out in 12, 16, and 20 gauge. It was not up until the 1970s in which Remington introduced the 28 and 410 versions of the Remington 870 and went to a smaller frame. Now, moving off of that, they would eventually chamber the 20 gauge in that smaller frame as well, and that would be the LW or the LT 20 gauge designation. This we know is a full-size frame, not only because it's chambered in 16 gauge, but also there is a W at the end of the serial number range, which indicates the full-sized receiver. Not that we need that. We already know that this meets the requirements for Remington to produce it in the 12 gauge frame. All right, guys, what is my personal history with this shotgun? I covered it quite a bit. I picked this up to have a 16 gauge 870 because my family has always been a big fan of the 16 gauge shotgun. I grew up shooting a ton of 16 gauge shotgun shells. And I also grew up with a Remington 870 Wingmaster 16 gauge. my father bought two, one for me, one for my brother, and those were shotguns in his collection that were designated for us to make sure that we would have 16 gauges to go hunt with. But mine was interesting because my barrel had a slight curve to it, which I remember when I first looked at it, I said, is that barrel curved? And I remember Dad going, oh, no, it's because there's no vent rib or anything like that. It's an optical illusion. And the more that I looked at it, the more that I realized, no, that barrel was absolutely slightly curved upwards. And it happened pretty much right at this point on the barrel where there's the piece that interacts with the magazine tube and the threaded cap in order to be able to hold the barrel onto the shotgun. It curved ever so slightly up, and there wasn't any disfigurement of the metal or anything along those lines. It almost looked like it was professionally done. It was so flawlessly a part of the lines of the shotgun. There was no kink, there was no wrinkle or anything like that in the metal itself. So it was very easy to convince yourself that it wasn't even there to begin with. Now, I'm not sure if that was done on purpose. I can't imagine why anyone would do so. Yeah, it's going to change the point of impact for your spread and all that kind of stuff, but not so much so to make it better. You still have to take that into account whenever it is that you're shooting at something. So at best, maybe if you had a bird that was flying straight away from you, it would make it easier to engage that particular animal, or clay pigeon. But that's so specific a circumstance, I don't understand why anybody would preference that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I always consider that perhaps it was just a lucky accident, a lucky outcome of an accident of some sort, that it wasn't enough to actually cause any damage to the barrel. And I know that it didn't cause any damage to the barrel because I shot that gun extensively. So I think we most definitely would have found out had it been too much, which there's been experimentation done with curving barrels to be able to shoot around corners. The Nazis were into that during World War II. But a lot of those types of designs were not successful, and they would eventually, and we're talking about much more drastic curves, like near 90-degree angles and all that kind of stuff. And as it turns out, if you, especially firing single projectiles out of there, do so a lot, you'll actually wind up blowing out the side of the barrel. This was not that shotgun, not this one, of course. This is not that. That shotgun never ran into that issue. And I actually used that shotgun on a duck hunt once upon a time. We managed to get a hold of some non-toxic, non-steel 16-gauge shot. Took it out on a duck hunt. Saw no ducks to shoot at, however. And I used it successfully on some squirrel hunts. So it's not like the curve really impacted the performance of the shotgun one way or the other. Now, eventually, those shotguns would get stolen. My father was not a big fan of locking the front door. Both of those shotguns were sitting in the living room, and somebody managed to just walk in and walk out with them. So they were never recovered. So this is the entry to replace that shotgun, and this time without a curved barrel. All right, now, how do I feel about this shotgun still? Has any of my opinions changed about it? Honestly, no. It's still a fantastic handling shotgun. It's very long, which I still don't appreciate that when it comes to a lot of brush-style hunting. But I would take this out, again, on squirrels, absolutely no problem, and I still think it would be a fantastic dove gun. Now, of course, as I've mentioned previously, in the last couple of years, I really haven't been doing a lot of upland game hunting, but I have been considering getting back into it this season. And this might be a shotgun that lights up the fields with me yet again. Of course, part of the issue right now is that I'd pretty much be hunting on my own, and I don't necessarily have a dog or anything like that that I could use for hunting. So, I don't know if I'm actually going to wind up out in the field and how successful I'll be, but it would be that those things would not be impacted if I were squirrel hunting, or those would not be an impact if I was squirrel hunting. So perhaps this will just be the year of squirrel hunting for me, up until maybe I figure out some other options. Like, I can't imagine trying to by myself stomp through a field for rabbits right now, but also wouldn't be bad just to be out in nature and just so happen to have a gun with me. All right, guys, super short video today. Just a quick discussion or revisit of this particular shotgun with a little bit of a walk down memory lane. I hope you guys found this interesting, and that's pretty much what I got. Have a good day. All right, if you guys stuck around, something that I haven't plugged in a while is the Murph's Law Facebook group, which if you're interested in that, you should check the link in the description. It's a place where if you want to get a hold of me to be able to ask questions or discuss things with like-minded people and all that kind of stuff, it's a great, very small community. I would love to see it grow some more. All right, with that, that's pretty much what I got. Have a good day.